This is not just some benevolent company putting, crunchy, salty things in a bright, shiny package. This is a company who has spent a lot of time and a lot of money figuring out how to make you want something that isn't necessarily good for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And they call it food science. I mean, it is a real science
Yeah.
behind it.
And so I want to back up a little bit because you said something that I thought was really cool when you were saying, fat, salt, and sugar in these highly concentrated amounts that we consume them in our modern diet, while they are found sporadically in our natural environment. So if I'm a hunter-gatherer and I'm out getting my food, getting what I need, I'm going to have incremental bits of sugar, incremental bits of fat and salt. But then let's say I come across like an apple tree or a strawberry patch. There's going to be some physical effort. I have to actually climb the tree to get the apple. And the fact that my body loves that, it's going to remember. And that's where, we get these paths, right? We go here in the winter because it has this source, and we go here in the summer because it has this source. But the point here is that that intense amount of sugar in an apple, for an example, it's not something that I'm necessarily consuming every day, all day. It's a seasonal item. So my body knows when it needs it and knows when to create the craving for it. And it's not all I'm eating all of the time. And I don't always have it readily available. And to get it, I do have to exert some effort. So I'm kind of showing up. I mean, this is perhaps a little clunky, but I'm imagining that by the time I make it to the apple tree, I actually have a calorie deficit because I had to walk and climb to get there and climb the tree. So the consumption of that little orb is actually serving my body. Is that kind of what we're
Yeah.
talking about?
Yes, totally. And I'll say something that also was different in the hunter-gatherer mode was we were more in touch with our hunger and true hunger, not hunger as a distraction or eating as a distraction or as a comfort. So the apple wasn't, a reward. It was actual a need.
Right.
And today we use food for a lot of things that aren't necessary for fulfilling calories.
Right. Right. Like I'm not going to waste away if I don't have that bag of Doritos, right? There's absolutely no reason that my body physically needs that.
Yeah.
It starts me thinking of like consciousness and our mindfulness. And we talked about this in a previous episode. I think it was our first episode. We were talking about eating for the mind versus eating for the body and how the two are very real and they also have very different motivations and different outcomes. And I was sharing that, when I'm eating for the mind, it's never satisfying. It's never fulfilling. I actually feel kind of lethargic and like I overate and kind of gross, or it's a letdown of like, oh, that wasn't what I wanted. So is it just about becoming conscious about what I'm eating first rather than saying, oh, I can't eat that anymore? I don't know. I mean, how can I begin to go from mindless, unconscious, habitual eating that of something that was designed to get me to overconsume to a healthier, more conscious relationship with my food? Am I moving in the right direction? Are these a questions you're
Yeah. And I think
asking?
it's an excellent question because I'm sure, even in my journey, when I started looking at food and trying to discern what was healthy for my body, first of all, there's not a lot of information that is clear.
Hmm.
It's gotten better in the last 10 years. But I think the first step that worked for me and that I help my clients with is clearing away some of the knowledge deficits, and one of them being that pleasure trap, because then you're a bit more empowered of recognizing and starting to think about why am I choosing this food over
Mhm.
another food? And then you can start to peel away some of the what we might call programming or what we might call unconscious habits or attractions to food and begin to tune into the actual needs of the body, the actual desires of the body, which are very quiet. And I find that the noise of processed food and marketing around that can be quite loud
Yeah.
because that's its job to get your attention. So starting to strip away some of the water that we've been swimming in of cultural food uses.
Right.
And I mean, not just the marketing that comes with it, but also in our upbringings. How was food utilized in our family? Was it used for comfort or distraction? Or for showing love, which is great. But if the content of the meal is not actually what your body's asking for, can you make a substitution? So I feel like knowledge is the first step,
Yeah.
and then inquiry would be the second.